Right in front of your face are 7 players I'd go trade for before week 1 kicks off. 7 players I'd trade away before week 1 kicks off. Why? Because the guys in green are going to gain value as the season rolls along, maybe as early as week 1. The guys over here are going to lose value. So if you don't trade them now, you won't get this really high value that each one of them actually hold right now. If you own one of these guys, I got good news. They have very high trade value. Now, I don't think every one of these guys will bust or every one of them is a lock to disappoint you, but everything revolves around ADP or trade value. Everybody thinks ADP is gone and done with once the draft is over. Not true. It transitions into trade value, but it's very similar. And far too many people don't look at trade value like they look at ADP, but they should. We're gonna break it all down right now.
Eckler Gordon.
Eckler, baby, all day.
Easy.
Money,
I mean, like,
money.
I feel like I'm, if I was getting paid for that advice, Dr. Rush, I'd refund it.
I would. I'd take the money, bro. I live in California. Take the rest of it.
Okay.
Intro. Top 5 running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show.
Smitty.
Take a lap. Okay, so you know how much I love Hollywood Brown. You know how much I'm starting to really warm up to Jonathan Taylor as a 4th drafted player, or if you've already drafted your 4th player on your roster. Trade for him at 4th drafted player value. If you do that, you're buying him at protected, built-in, I can earn my value back type of trade value. That could win you a league if he ends up landing, and if he doesn't, you're fine. McLaurin. He had like a 5th or 6th round ADP heading into the final weeks of drafting. I think he has low-end wide receiver 1 value. I truly do. McLaurin had a really good rookie year. He started his career with 3 straight games with a touchdown. He's the kind of wide receiver that I think could turn into a Steve Smith or kind of a mini version of Tyreek Hill. He's unguardable in today's NFL. And I think that Washington will be down a lot, throwing in the 3rd and 4th quarter, and that's going to create a lot of garbage time for this guy to develop and mature fast at the NFL level. I'm excited about McLaurin. He's got wide receiver 1 appeal. Go trade for him. And I got to throw DK Metcalf on the screen too. Now we've got 8 over on the green side and 7 over on the red. Big deal. Big deal. But DK needs to be mentioned too. In fact, now that I've added him, I think DK and Chark are my top 2 guys on this list. The guys that I think could have the biggest impact if you go trade for them at their current ADP or trade value. Current trade market value, aka fair market value, aka what you can get on the street if you go knocking. DK right now, if you equate his value via trade, very close to draft day, they're pretty much the same as of right now. DK costs you what would equate to 5th overall drafted value. Chark, same thing, maybe late 4th, but probably early 5th round value, equated to draft value. Now, you can't equate anything to draft value once the season kicks off because everything gets jostled around. Pat Mahomes could throw 7 touchdowns on Thursday Night Football, and now he's a top 12 overall pick, and where you drafted him does not matter. If Patty Mahomes doesn't do much at all on Thursday night, you might be able to go trade for that guy at value in the late 3rd round if you were to equate it back, trace it back to actual draft value. You have to think about ADP in a new way heading into your 2020 fantasy football season. I'm going to train you to constantly be creating your own ADP that really is fair market value via trade. It's like a stock market. When do you sell high? When do you hold? When do you say, God, I've tanked too much, I can't sell now, I'll lose my shirt. But if I wait it through, the market will adjust and I'll get my value back. Maybe I sell then because I'm afraid of another dip. Think David Montgomery kind of went up in value in the offseason. We all got excited again. He got hurt. Now we're reminded that not only is there an injury, there's Nagy. People are like, how do I get out of this stock? How do I get out of David Montgomery stock? Now, if he climbs back into some kind of positive return or even Steven type of wash trade value, meaning you get back what you invested on draft day, a lot of people would want to take that because they'd be worried about another valley. and not enough peaks or even ever reaching a peak ever again. The reason that David Montgomery's not over here is because he's hurt and his trade value is low. The point of this video is to go trade guys that are actually valued really high before they tank. They may not tank. Half of them may not tank, but I've assembled a group of players that I feel have enough red flags and concerns that this is the highly likely group to tank. David Johnson. You've got to be worried about David Johnson. If you are not worried about David Johnson, even if you own him, it's because you probably own him in a dynasty league and you can't get rid of him. You're trying to justify why David Johnson still has value. Could he do okay? Yeah. Could he have 100 yards and a touchdown on Thursday night? He could, but will he disappoint you in week 10, week 11? If Clyde doesn't do great on Monday night, people are going to freak out. If DJ outperforms Clyde on Thursday night, people are going to freak out. It's a marathon. You got to be ready to weather through a week or 2 or 3 or 4 of tempered expectations or disappointment. You can't say, oh, DJ had 100 yards on opening night. He's back. And I could be wrong about DJ. Again, I'm not going to land every one of these. I could be wrong about Gurley, who I'm so against you drafting, or was against you drafting, and I'm against you trading for him. And because his value is so high, I'm recommending you trade him away. Now, why is Odell on this list? Because Odell has constantly disappointed us. He's constantly disappointed me. I believed in him. Oopsie on me.
Bad Smitty.
But enough is enough. Stefanski runs the ball a ton. He dials back his passing attacks and funnels everything through the running game. Odell is very, very good getting a lot from a little. I've said that phrase several times this offseason, but injury, previous disappointment, scaled back passing attack. Too many things are pointing to a decline or disappointment. There's a lot there I just said. That should be alarming to you. That should make you think, okay, how is he really going to get to where we want him to get to not disappoint us? Lev Bell, same thing. Think about it. Think about what I'm saying right now. Lev Bell has Gase in his way. Lev Bell disappointed last year. Lev Bell is getting older. They don't want Lev Bell there. There's reports that Lev Bell's slow. He looks in great shape, but maybe he's not doing well on the field. I don't know. Those are a lot of things to pile up on top of a player that's coming out of 2019 completely disappointing you. Why would you put all your faith in that? And again, I could be wrong about Bell or Gurley or both or some of these guys. But what I'm telling you is if you avoid players that have a lot of these concerns piling up, you're probably going to avoid disappointment more frequently. It's a numbers game. I might be right on Gurley, Johnson, not Ryan, not Odell, be right on Bell, not Cooper, be right on Chubb. I'm not expecting to get all these right, but all of these guys I've identified as having the red flags and concerns to make them more likely to disappoint you. Nick Chubb has Kareem Hunt behind him, a running back that I believe is better not only between the tackles, or at least as good, but definitely better in the PPR game. He can catch footballs way better than Nick Chubb, and they're going to lean on him more as a wide receiver. Nick Chubb is a super aggressive runner that had one of the biggest knee injuries in college football history. He was almost overworked last year, and Hunt was ultra efficient when he returned midway through the year. There's a lot of things piling up against Nick Chubb. You got to be able to feel when there's too many things there that he's got to break through. Could he break through all that? Yeah, he could. But the odds are he won't. If he's got a 10% chance, I'm throwing an arbitrary number out there to prove a point, but let's say I've identified that he has a 10% chance of busting. Could he still be a top 5 running back? Yeah, 10% is 10%. He still could be in that 10%. Why does Amari Cooper bother me at his current ADP or trade value? Why do I want you to sell him high? CeeDee Lamb. History of drops, history of getting in his own head. Now he's looking at the number 1 wide receiver for the future coming in and taking his job. Injury worry for me. You may not have it. I'm assuming a lot of things on the injury front, but I fear injury. I fear him getting rattled. I fear drops. I fear looking over his shoulder. I fear and smell disappointment. At least a high likelihood of it, and I could be wrong. David Johnson, I already touched on. When has David Johnson looked like his old self? When? If you want to bank on that one, go right ahead. My point is that David Johnson, Gurley, Chubb, and Cooper, and Bell, and Odell, and Ryan could all buy you a safer vehicle to drive into week 1 with, but you gotta act now. Matt Ryan, I don't hate, but I feel like there's so many better quarterbacks right around his ADP. The reason I put him on this list is for you to use him to trade him in for a Brady. Give a little and get a Wilson. Give a little, get a Watson. Maybe give a little more and get a Kyler. The point is, so many people see Ryan as top 5 capable. Why not go get a more secure top 5 guy using Ryan? That's why he made this list, because I wanted to put a quarterback on there to try and help you maneuver into a Brady, a Wilson, or a Watson, or a Kyler. Just because you missed a guy in a draft doesn't mean you can't wiggle your way back in the door. Hollywood Brown is on his way to being a wide receiver 1, in my opinion. 147 yards in week 1 off 4 catches. He passed the eye test better than any wide receiver has ever passed the eye test in my mind as a rookie debut. The foot lingered. He's been working out with the Footwork King all offseason long. He's added 20 pounds. I've seen his Instagram videos that he posts almost every freaking day because he's one of the hardest working wide receivers in the offseason that I've seen all year long. He is in one of the most potent offenses led by Lamar Jackson, who will only get better as a passer. The writing's on the wall. My gut's telling me that people are going to walk out of week 1, 2, 3 wondering why they didn't buy in to Hollywood Brown as a wide receiver 1. Don't trade for him at that value. You do not. Again, the guys over here, you're buying low before they become what I'm telling you I think they can become. Heading into the final few weeks of drafting, JT's been one of my favorite running backs to grab in the 4th round, especially if you go like wide receiver, and you draft your running back 1 in a very late 4th round draft slot. JT fits that bill like no other. McLaurin, like Hollywood, has wide receiver 1 potential. These guys right here, Hollywood, Taylor, McLaurin, Chark, DK, both could be wide receiver 1s in my mind at 2020. I know Hollywood, McLaurin, DK, and Chark can't all be top 10, top 12 wide receivers, but I think all of them will dance around the top 12, and a couple of them will fall into that 10 to 12 range. The number 15 wideout might be like 10 or 12, 15 points away from the 12. I believe you will get wide receiver 1 production, if not very close to it, out of all 4 of Brown, McLaurin, Metcalf, Chark, and then AJ Brown's up there, but everybody's valuing him already pretty high. I'm not sure you're going to be able to trade for AJ Brown. That ship has sailed. That bull prediction's been beat like a dead horse all offseason long. Congrats to everybody that already owns AJ Brown. Zach Moss could take a little bit of time to gain momentum and gain a starting role, but I do have a weird feeling that Singletary's going to let the job go and Moss will climb in and thrive and potentially even be a running back too, but you can't buy him at that value. The point of this video is to buy low. Jerry Jeudy's a rookie, and in Dynasty I love him. In redraft I'm starting to like him a lot, to the tune of a wide receiver 3. I think he starts showing his elite wide receiver 1 ability here and there in spots in 2020. Will he be consistent all year? No. But could he climb into an elite wide receiver 3 or flex type value range? Yeah, he's that good. And Gibson, man, Gibson's either gonna bust or be a top 10 running back. We don't know. He's raw. Hybrid players don't really translate all that well, but every player is different. And I don't always take history and say, oh, it's going to apply here. It's always a case-by-case basis with me. And the lack of competition in Washington makes Gibson almost an obvious pick that no one's really paying attention to the degree they should be paying attention to it. People know about him. Everybody likes him. But I kept getting him at running back 4 and 5 value, even up to the last draft I had last night. Trade for him before the values go up. Trade them away before their values tank and you don't get even close to what you could get today. I'm not asking you to doubt all these guys, and I'm not saying I won't be wrong, but I'm saying you can trade safely into a better player, and if I'm wrong, you'll still do well. It's about mitigating risk with these guys. It's about buying low, and if they don't do what I say, you're probably still getting your value back because you're buying low. If you're not buying low, you're not paying attention.